Could the Shane Ellis theory come true for XRP users and quickly push the price of XRP into the hundreds of dollars? I am going to give you an up-to-date on what is happening and some background on the Shane Ellis theory. We also have big news about XRP, the EVM sidechain, and what's going on. Let's start with this. I think that Shane Ellis's theory plus RLUSD plus G7RL currencies means XRP supply shock. Let us quickly explain the Shane Ellis theory in case you don't know what it is. According to the Shane Ellis theory, the price of XRP could go up dramatically because the order books on centralized exchanges are not very liquid. This could happen because of a big market buy order that sweeps through the sell orders and drives up the price exponentially across venues through arbitrage. As of October 2025, some parts of this theory match up with how the market has been moving, but not the claimed wildly high price goals. Shane Ellis's main theory is thought that a big buy order, like around $39 million in the past, on an exchange that wasn't very liquid, could cancel out all lower-priced sell orders, driving the last fill price sharply up, possibly into the hundreds of dollars per XRP arbitrage effect. When the price of an exchange goes up quickly, bots and traders will drive up the prices of other exchanges to meet the new price. This will cause the market as a whole to rise quickly. How the order book works. The idea is based on the idea that centralized markets have low liquidity, which makes them open to these shocks. It doesn't take into account how quickly new buyers would try to make money at higher prices, which would lower the opposite extreme spikes. The crypto market just went through a huge liquidity problem because centralized exchanges weren't ready for it. Someone used weak spots on Binance and other big platforms to get money, and I think those are the ones, the Binances of the world, who should stand up. If those are the ones we need to ask, why doesn't your infrastructure work? When all of these platforms wouldn't work, the ones that were there with liquidity and no problems were the ones that looked at DEX like Uniswap, 1inch, and other DEX. So I'm not sure if this has anything to do with what's going to happen here. It's happening now with the exchange rate and supply running out in 2025. Coins worth billions of XRP are disappearing from public markets. A lot of it is now held by institutions through BitGo, Coinbase, and pocket lockups, which lowers the amount of cash that is available. A lot of the time, Jay Claver says that there are less than 2 billion XRP on platforms. It's true that number has gone up a lot since the panic sell we saw during the liquidity crisis. I agree, though, that swap order books are very thin. When this huge amount of people want to buy ETFs, the price might go through the roof. It does talk about how institutions can build up wealth. Large players like banks and fund managers are building up XRP accounts off exchange using custody solutions. They aren't adding to the exchange's liquidity, which is making the order books even thinner. ETF and RLUSD story, using RLUSD as a middleman in the upcoming launch of Spot XRP ETFs, raises the risk of a supply shock because large institutional buyers may place orders that use up all the liquidity on the public sell side. Recently, the price of XRP fell quickly and then rose again before a 41% flash crash. Guys, were you able to get some XRP? I could buy some for $185, which is about $2.80. Wow, that's crazy. No one knew if XRP would ever be worth less than $2 again. That really did happen, but I don't think many people know that. Realities and complaints of the market. Let's talk about that for a while, but I don't want to talk about that too much right now. But that's Shane Ellis's idea, and here are some new facts. I hope that helped you in some way. Also, take a look at this. At the same time, Ripple is waiting for its U.S. National Bank Trust license to be approved, which should happen before the end of the year. If approved, Ripple Bank would be one of the first blockchain-based banks recognized by U.S. federal banking law. With this license, Ripple would be able to directly add XRP to regulated financial flows. This would make it possible for cross-border payments, tokenized assets, and institutional custody services to happen. Also, I think that the US government under Trump has talked a lot about upgrading our facilities to use blockchain technology. The US worked on FedNow for 10 years, but it is not blockchain technology. This is a system that banks link to at the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve handles the settlement. Everything would be different. Another thing is that the federal government would have to hire a private company to build a system very quickly and well. And the only private company with ties around the world, right? You need to go global, not just domestically. And the technology and partner you use must be used all over the world. What do you think? What if Ripple made a version of RippleNet and gave it to the US government? Not only could they settle with XRP, but they could also use that private company to make a US dollar stablecoin that wouldn't be seen as a central bank digital currency since it wouldn't come from the Fed. Of course, there would have to be rules, updates, and other things like that. But this is how I think it could all be set up. Ladies and gentlemen, please tell me what you think below. I did enjoy this video. Some people don't realize how much this will change the XRP space, so I did want to talk about it. Let's play. Moving to the biggest ecosystem in the world with the XRP EVM seems like a good idea to me. After all, it gets a lot of Ethereum workers interested, right? That's possible because you were built on an EVM. Cosmos is what XRPL EVM is built on, and the Axelar bridge is used because it is built on Cosmos. With the Axelar bridge, you can cross-chain right away. The XRP asset is what makes the XRP EVM a great place to build things. The XRP asset is very different from other assets of the same type. Why? The first thing it says is that it is a cross-border payment neutral currency. It has stood up to the US court system and won more than once, which is something that no other asset in this space has ever done. And because of that, it has more credibility than any other product. But now that it's available on the world's largest developer ecosystem, XRP is no longer stuck on an island. It is now part of the world's largest developer ecosystem where it can grow. The XRP asset can now be programmed and put together in different ways. This means it can be used in DeFi as a gas token for automation and to deal with smart contracts. Because the EVM is there, this is a better product that can be used across many chains. There will be a lot of independent agents in the world we're going to. These are basically computer programs that just run and do what they need to do on their own. They can settle their transactions with each other in XRP when they're combining their yields or paying for any kind of online service. This is because XRP is a neutral, cross-border, regional commodity that can now be programmed, put together, and used anywhere. First, think about how you can use that talent to your advantage. You might want to think about how you can use the RLUSD stablecoin. This is another stablecoin that is accepted by institutions and is backed by a legal and compliant organization. You have every reason to come and build on the XRPL EVM if you can find a specific use case for those two assets.